Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to CEO Unplugged Leading in the AI Era, where we bring together thought leadership to discuss how human skills, data, and AI are shaping the future of leadership. Our host, Dr. Ganesh Natarajan, is a global business leader and author with decades of experience driving digital transformation. As chairman of multiple technology driven organizations, Ganesh has led companies like Aptech and Zensar to record growth by leveraging technology and innovation. He's a recognized expert in knowledge management and digital success and an active contributor to global leadership forums, helping organizations adapt and thrive in the AI powered landscape. Joining him is Mr. Nitin Seth, co founder and CEO of Incedo, a leader in digital data and AI solutions serving Fortune 200 companies. With nearly 30 years of experience, including leadership roles at Flipkart and Fidelity, he has transformed data driven decision making into a strategic advantage. As the author of bestsellers on digital transformation and AI, he helps organizations harness technology to innovate, scale, and lead with purpose. Today, the two industry stalwarts will explore how to balance human skills with AI capabilities, unlock data for smarter decisions, and lead confidently in an era of rapid technological change. And with that, I'm pleased to hand it over to Dr. Ganesh Natarajan to begin this insightful conversation. Over to you, Ganesh.
Thank you very much, Ranita. And as always a pleasure to be coordinating this show. And as most of you who have been following us on YouTube will know, we've had some amazing guests on the show. I mean, we have had the chairperson of NASSCOM, the vice chair of NASSCOM, the chair of the Chairman's Council of NASSCOM, so all the big industry leaders, as well as the chairman managing director of Nestle, who really spoke to us from an insider point of view on how organizations, the large ones, are implementing AI. But today I'm truly excited because a good friend, a passionate CEO, and an author of very, very successful books is here with us, Nitin Seth. So the way we'll structure this conversation is we will ask Nitin a bit about his journey and what brings him to where he is today, and talk a little bit about the company that he now runs and he co-founded. Then jump into the meat of this conversation, which is his views on AI, because many of us today approach AI from a very different point of view. And I want to get Nitin's view on what has been very thought-provoking in terms of his writing and his thinking. And we'll have a chat about that. And then, of course, we will kind of conclude with some ideas on what the future could be. So first of all, thank you very much, Nitin. I know it's a very busy day for you in New York. So happy that we could have you on the show. So can we start, Nitin, by you telling us about yourself? Who is Nitin Seth?
Yeah, I think I'm also discovering that, Ganesh. It's defining oneself is a is a bit of a journey, but I see myself as somebody who is very passionate. I think people characterize me or describe me as somebody having a lot of energy, and my energy comes from a sense of mission, a sense of purpose. So I've always had this thing that do more. Life is has a purpose, and we are here to make a difference. My journey has been in many ways classical, but also also always trying to do something different. So it's classical that I went to IIT Delhi, then went to IIM Lucknow, joined McKinsey and Company straight from business school, which was all very classical, traditional things to do. And then I left McKinsey quite early on. This was the dot-com era, and I did a startup, which was a great failure. It was the first big failure of my life, and I think it taught me a lot more than many years of education and many years of consulting. And then it was then it was B2C. It was back to consulting. So after 2 years of a startup, I went back to McKinsey, and then I think a very interesting, very unique phase of my life started. McKinsey at that point was setting up a research back office called MCKC, McKinsey Knowledge Center. And this was really, very early in that whole era of forget knowledge offshoring, even offshoring. And I had the great opportunity of leading that at a young age, at the age of late 20s, 30, I started heading that. And it was a great experience in, really exploring the potential of what is possible from India. And also, phase of a lot of creativity, set up analytics, and number of new innovations from that center. So that's been a very important part of my journey. After that, I joined Fidelity Investments. I was the CEO for India, but also headed transformation for all of the international businesses for Fidelity. So it was again a very different experience that sitting in India but driving transformation globally. Was a very very interesting, very unique experience. A lot of air miles, of course. It was 6 years of 2 weeks in London or somewhere in the world, and 2 weeks back in India. So it was quite interesting. My work driving transformation at Fidelity taught me that technology was changing the world dramatically, and I wanted to experience that. So I joined Flipkart, which is really quite an extraordinary organization, especially at that time when I joined, and we were locked in this battle with Amazon, which I think we fought very very well. We eventually sold out to Walmart, which is not exactly what I wanted to do because my ambition was to build a great Indian multinational. I'd already worked in multinationals in senior roles for quite some time. So I wanted to, I'd always been an entrepreneur, even while I'd worked in large companies. So that's when, I, bought a stake in Incedo. It was a very young company then, 35, 40 million. And, that's been my journey. So, last 8 years I've been building Incedo. So yeah, that's a little bit about myself,
Oh, that's great,
Ganesh.
Nitin. And in fact, I remember spending time with McKinsey myself as a senior advisor. And you're right, that's a different world, and building entrepreneurial success stories is completely different. So tell me a little bit more about what the company does. I mean, so where are you today, and what's your mission? If I could ask you that question for the company and what you do.
Yeah, so when I took it on and really set it up, the ambition always has been to work at the intersection of business and technology. So, the role of technology has been changing from being an enabler to actually driving the strategy, but it's easier said than done. So that's been the broad objective. And also, my time at Flipkart versus Fidelity, what I saw was the big difference between the digital natives and the more legacy enterprises was not around technology, but how they organize themselves. That the digital natives were able to organize themselves into a cross-functional team. You call it a product pod or whatever different nomenclature you can use. So that's really was the initial thought. That we'll bring all these different set of capabilities together for our clients, and that's where our early focus was on digital transformation. And the problem that really struck me was that majority of digital transformation efforts fail. There is a 70 to 80% of the initiatives don't meet their ROI targets. So that's where we started. That was the first couple of years of our journey. And then we realized that the swing factor in that digital transformation success or not was data, which also in a nice as a nice serendipity also coincided with my background at McKinsey around analytics. So the last couple of years have been a lot focused on data, and where a lot of our work and conversations are around data, and is around I call solving the front to back problem. That data is multiple layers, and from infrastructure to the platform to the analytical layer to the business layer, they are not connected. And they are often very different skills that are required. So we really bring those layers together. And over the last 12 to 18 months, the data infrastructure is naturally morphing into or evolving into the AI infrastructure. So that's been the progression, that digital data and AI, and which also, by the way, is the progression of my books. That I've written 3 books, and they kind of coincide with that. The Incedo 2.0 journey, which was digital transformation, 3.0 journey, which was around data, and 4.0 journey, which is around AI at scale.
I see. But when did the writing bug bite you, Nitin? Because a lot of us think about writing and we don't do it. And I remember it took me quite a long time before I wrote my first book. But as I'm sure you're experiencing, once you write that first book, the bug bites you, and then you keep writing, which is what probably happens to you. But when did you think of writing your first book on digital? Was it based on your experiences in the company or based on something else?
See, the bug has been there, like, just, I would put it into two parts. One is this, old bug of, if I may use a Hindi word, giving gyan. Gyan is knowledge, has been there like right from beginning. So, I was kind of, famous or rather infamous, across, my undergraduate and kind of business school for giving a lot of gyan. So I think that bug has been there, and I've had a blog for a longest time. So I've had a blog, for 20 years now, and I had been writing, but I did not know the process, so I had not really got myself to bring it together as a book. And again, like sometimes, some very important things happen, not because you plan them, there's just serendipity. And this was COVID, and our head of marketing came to me and said that, look, Nathan, you write so much, and why not put it together as a nice, coffee table book, is what he put it, for our clients, and it will be a nice, a Christmas, New Year gift. And I said, okay, that seems like a good idea. So I put, some of my writings together as digital transformation. Now, this guy was really entrepreneurial, so he never told me. He took the manuscript and sent it to the top 10 publishers in the world. And seven said they were interested. And of course, the
Wow.
number one was Penguin Random House. And when I saw Penguin, I said, wow, this is crazy. How is this even possible? So I had a call with them. And of course, they were very, very positive. And I said, okay, this is serious. I have to do it. I should not embarrass myself that I put something out there, which is really pathetic. So that's how it started. And it's all thanks to this guy, Apur Bhattagar, that, he kind of, pushed me, and he kind of, did the first few moves. And the first book I wrote with zero expectations. And it was a surprising success. I guess it was COVID, and, the topic was digital and so on. And, but then, once, I gained some confidence, and then the publisher also got really, really excited. So then the second and the third book happened.
That's amazing. And so let's dive into it. So I mean I've been doing a lot of writing research, very similar to what you've done in Zensar from the 2010 era, and now of course in our new company GTT Data, we do exactly that. I mean it's really data as an asset, data engineering, that we move on to, I mean really categorizing, descriptive analytics, then move on to predictive, prescriptive, and of course all the way to machine learning and AI. So I think that progression is something that we've all experienced, consulted, built solutions for. But from your point of view, I mean, as you progress from your three books itself, so when you look at AI, and I remember my wife and I were in New York 6 months back when Yuval Noah Harari was promoting his book Nexus. And Harari tends to be a little negative about AI because he did talk even then about the algorithmic problems that can actually drive you to negative outcomes. He talked about how, let's say, dictators of the world could probably use AI and target their victims much more kind of specifically. And he also mentioned, areas like AGI, artificial general intelligence, and super intelligence, which could eventually take the control of humanity away from humanity itself. So, from your point of view, and what do you think? I mean, AI, is it going to be the great boon saving grace for mankind, or is there a risk to it? Or just talk to us a little bit about your research, your writing, and where you see AI helping or hindering, and what is the role of the human being?
Yeah, a lot of big questions there, Ganesh. So I'm a big believer in the concept of duality. That most situations in life and in business, they're about contradictions, and that either side is there. And that duality is extremely strong. It's profound with AI. It's a humongous opportunity. It's also could be an existential threat. Both are there. That's the nature of AI. So the first thing I would say is that AI is not another technology shift. It's not same as saying this is internet or cloud, which were both very significant technology shifts, but still they were steps in a journey. This is, AI is more like the discovery of fire or wheel or the locomotive or electricity is at that order of magnitude. And we as a human species, we are a evolutionary species, and I believe that this could be a trigger for our next stage of evolution. It will push us to evolve, or it will bring us to our doom. So either of those scenarios are possible. As an optimist, I would like to believe in the first one, and also that that's what we should make happen. What option do we have but to make it happen? Because we can't submit ourselves just to existential doom. See, because we have to realize that AI is not a conscious being, at least not today. Okay, we are creating AI, and we are creating the use cases. So it is very much within our gift to shape its direction. Yeah. Now, just to explore the two aspects better, the opportunity and the crisis. The opportunity is that with AI, every aspect of our life is going to get impacted, and therefore every industry is going to get impacted. And there are, I call it the four forces, personalization, automation, innovation, and impact on business models. These are four forces, which AI is, which AI is making happen for industries. And every industry will change, Ganesh. Every industry. It's like just a maturity curve. Some like retail and media are ahead, maybe then financial services, and then, but even very traditional industries like manufacturing or healthcare will get impacted. And that's a great opportunity. It is going to create, there are going to be hundreds of thousands of new problems that could be solved today. There are also problems, which have been very intractable, which have been very difficult to solve, maybe cancer, maybe climate change, with the amount of data that we now have and our ability to process it in very different ways, our ability to drive innovation and research in different ways, that I'm hopeful that AI will help us solve them. AI is, of course, a great enabler, freeing up our time, and hopefully we as humans will be able to use that time in more value added, more creative ways. So the possibilities are really, really tremendous. On the other hand, there is a reality that majority of work that happens today isn't exactly very value adding or very creative. Yeah. And a lot of that AI will take. So the research I had done as part of my third book, and it was very consistent. It was not that there were outliers, that you know over the next 15 years, 35 to 50% of current jobs will get lost globally. That's a remarkable number, Ganesh. That's an extraordinary number, 50% of today's jobs getting lost in 15 years. I'm flabbergasted that more people are not talking about it, because we talk about many issues, but what could be bigger than this? If this happens, and there isn't, we haven't done anything about it, the social strife and disruption that we will see will be just unimaginable. Yeah. And this is unlike the previous waves of technology disruption, because the assumption always was, hey, we will move up the value chain, some jobs will be lost, more will be created. That's kind of, when I talk in policy circles, I don't think it is sunk in. This is the kind of answers I get. Yeah, but the dynamics of AI are different, Ganesh. Now this is about the white collar jobs. Okay. By 2030, for every one blue collar job lost, 10 white collar jobs are going to be lost. That's massive. Okay. Now, of course, as you go on, that number equalizes as robots become more capable. Okay. So, and also, yeah, some jobs will get created, but how many people do you need to create LLMs? So there are both sides to it. It's a huge opportunity. At the same time, there are very significant risks. There are moral and social risks, which I haven't touched upon, which we can get to later. But just this whole thing about jobs is very significant. So for me, this is, AI age is the end of the era of jobs. That's how I see it. But it is also heralding the era of entrepreneurs. Yeah. So that to me is the governing thought, which both captures the great challenge that's in front of us, because we are a society which is designed for jobs, and we have to shift that. Now, that era of entrepreneurship could be very exciting, could be, there's a lot more to it, but that's not what we are designed for today. And I think that's the shift we will need to make happen.
No, very interesting, and I love the phrase you're using, saying "end of the era of jobs." And but you're absolutely right, because I mean, I in New York just last week I was in a discussion with Thai Women, which is the entrepreneurship forum that most of us are part of. And 4 out of the 5 women who were pitching young women in their 20s, pitching AI entrepreneurship. I was just talking to my colleague Ankita Vashisht, who runs Arise Ventures, and she's starting this whole enterprise AI accelerator. And she's saying the number of applications she's getting is amazing. But she was also saying that, for instance, India, for instance, she says the maturity of the typical AI entrepreneur from India and the ecosystem they have around them is probably not that great. So, in a sense, would it be also foolish for somebody to believe that, oh, no problem, there's no job, I'll just jump in and do an AI startup and I'll be successful anyway? Is there just too many people jumping at that honeypot called AI entrepreneurship? What do you think about that?
See, I think, see, the essence of your question, that see, I think there is almost an infinite opportunity with AI and entrepreneurship. So I don't think
Hmm.
that's a limitation, Ganesh. But I think the second part, which is about India, I think it certainly highlights that, what is the right opportunity, and what do you need to have to be able to access that opportunity successfully. Now, the opportunity with AI, to my mind, if you think about a very simplified view of the stack, you have the AI infrastructure, which is, you have the compute and storage layer, you have the foundational models, you have the data layer, and then you have the application layer. See, to my mind, the bottom layers are really very driven by big tech. And it is the application layer, which is where we talked about industries transforming, and every industry transforming, and a lot of problems to be solved, which is the opportunity for entrepreneurs. Yeah. And that's huge. But then what is really needed to be successful there? For that, you need very strong context, very strong context. You need domain understanding. You need to know something about something very, very well. Yeah. And it's not just about coding. It's not just about being able to set up a AI application. And then that's what is needed. And I think that's where I think the entrepreneurial opportunity for India in particular is huge. But we need to understand that it is not just about technical skills. It is about that domain understanding, and that needs a set of life experiences which we need to figure out how to enable. So I think that's really the key point. And it's also then, within, the broader point from an India perspective is that this shift from a services mindset to a product mindset. Yeah, that, which is that not just do it, but you need to identify the right opportunity. So that's the kind of broader point I would make. And finally, see, there is, for AI, there is a reality, which is the infrastructure is very expensive. The GPU capacity, the compute capacity, and and as far as India is concerned, the opportunity is to enable entrepreneurship at scale. It's not just about Bangalore and Mumbai and Gurgaon and so on. It is going to the India that is Bharat. It is going to the Kurnool in Andhra Pradesh, or Bhatinda in Punjab, and Navsari in Surat and so on. And that's where I think there is a challenge and is a task ahead for us in India, that how do we make that AI infrastructure available at scale and in a very efficient manner for these entrepreneurs.
Well, that's a great point you're making. And I mean, I was discussing with Professor Nitin Noria, former Dean of Harvard Business School, last week in Boston. And he and I discussed the same thing that look, if you look at the China model of AI, I mean, you're absolutely right. The high investment, NVIDIA, Sam Altman kind of LLMs and GPU model. And then China came out of the blue with DeepSeek. And they're really focusing more on inference and applications, having been the manufacturing the factory of the world, if you will. And I think India, you're absolutely right. I think if you look at applications, which are impacting Bharat, the small towns, that could be our contribution to the global south and how we look at AI. So I think that's an amazing point you're making. And I think that's really where even entrepreneurs should be looking at, saying not just copy what somebody else is doing and say deeper and deeper tech, but maybe wider and wider tech in terms of solving real business problems. So I think that's a fantastic point. And you also given me a lead into the future episodes of this CEO Unplugged. I think we should look at more CEOs like the CMD of Nestle and really get their impression of how they think AI will help. Because if you're solving problems that don't exist, then it's not a problem. So I think that's something we have to look at. But coming back to one point you made earlier, you're talking about the application of AI. I mean, just this morning I was reading in the press. I don't know whether it was an Indian paper or a US paper, but it was about some two people who got so sucked into AI as their doctor or their medical assistant, if you will, that they actually went down the wrong path. And I think there is that risk of over dependence on AI. Harari was talking about the fact that your best friend will definitely in future be an AI, because unlike your human best friend, who may also have her own bad mood on a particular day and not be giving you good advice, your AI knows you as well as anybody else and can always give you good advice. So, is there a risk that we will surrogate our entire thinking to AI and get so carried away that we don't use common sense?
It absolutely is, Ganesh. Without doubt, without any doubt, that risk is there. I sometimes feel that you know the the next generation, I think, is going to have that challenge, because they are exposed to chat gpt from such an early age, that see the way our generation grew up, we're still grounded in some problem solving foundations. When I was younger, as an example, one of the favorite thing for my parents to do in the morning was to ask, just multiplication questions. What is 36 into 9? Something like that. That was, just, growing up, that, maths was so important. And, with my elder one, I think we still did that, but for my younger one, and there is, you know, 9 years difference between the two, I think we stopped doing that. So, just, in one generation, mental maths as a skill has probably gone. When I interviewed for McKinsey in 96, that was the key thing. Case solving was about mental maths. It's gone
Mm.
now. It's gone in one generation. And that is the question, that the jobs is an outcome, okay, but what you're raising is actually the more foundational question, which is about the input. How are we going to learn? Because it's so easy that the foundational skills around problem solving and all that goes inside that, writing, interpreting, how is that going to really happen? So so yeah, I think that's a very, very, and I don't think we have good answers to that. See, you can further extrapolate that also to jobs. Now, the tech industry, which both of us are a part of and know well, that see today, with AI driving very high levels of productivity around, let's say, software development, we're easily, getting 40% productivity using AI. And what it's leading to is that from the pyramid, it's kind of leading to a diamond shape structure, that the need for more junior level developers is very low. You need, like, more architects and subject matter experts and more experienced developers, and that's kind of in the middle. Even the need for managers is going down. So that diamond shaped structure is fine, But how do you get to that diamond? You were getting to that because of the pyramid. So it's a very, that is actually the key question. That's that's what I've been thinking a lot about, that with AI, there has to be the one of the biggest implication is on the nature of learning. How do you learn? Because many of the essential cognitive skills that we have as humans, no, with and Yuval talks a lot about that in his books, that with every successive wave of technology we have lost some skills. It has made us narrower, more specialized, but narrower. And this is kind of really the extreme. It will make us completely, if we don't do anything actively, it will make us completely dependent. And when that's the big risk. And that's kind of really the focus of my third book, Human Edge on the AI Age. And my essential point I'm making is that AI will do what it will do. AI will continue to grow. It is not like nuclear power that 10 nations can come and control it. But
Yep.
it's the human edge, that we really, really need to worry about.
No, no, you're absolutely right. And I think, and I'm so glad you made that point. My wife and I keep discussing this about our own grandson, saying that why doesn't he want to learn the tables? Now, as you rightly said, and I was telling him the other day that, we used to have a class teacher who used to say, okay, 13 into 7, and you'd get punished if you didn't know what is 13 multiplied by 7. And his very innocent question was, but why would you want to know that? You can find out by, using a calculator, whatever. And we don't think that way. So I think you're absolutely right. And we also, I think we should adapt to what the preference of learning would be. But you're right, it raises that fundamental question of what is the role of the human in the loop? Because if AI continually gets more and more intelligent and feeds on feeds on itself and gets even more intelligent, where's it going? So I think maybe we are both fortunate that we don't have to worry too much about it because we've kind of made our successful careers. But yes, for future generations, that's going to be a thing. So let me conclude one last question to you, Nitin. What is Nitin Seth going to do in future? Is he going to be more of a writer, more of a gyani, or more of a entrepreneur and investor? Have you thought about that?
Look, I think we are a generation which is going to see the healthy 100. So I think there's a long way to go. And I feel I'm just getting started.
Good.
And I really am a believer of the tipping point, that a concept that Malcolm Gladwell popularized. But I really believe in that it's kind of everything you're accumulating, and you're building to it. I think the work that we are doing, with Incedo, that really this notion of build a great Indian multinational is very strong in my mind, that a multinational but with a decidedly Indian ethos. I worked in McKinsey and Fidelity. They were multinationals, but with a very clear American ethos. So why can't we have, multinationals with a very clear Indian ethos? I think, this whole notion, this whole thing about the AI age, I think this is a profound disruption. And, how do we, contributing, understanding it, but then also contributing to shaping it, because the next, I think, 20 years are going to be exceptional. And I feel very fortunate that we are here, because you and I have a set of experiences which actually transcend, from the physical age to the digital
Absolutely.
age, and now the AI age. So it is, so my children's generation, they are digital natives and AI natives, so they have a very different perspective, and I think an amazing perspective, an amazing ability to just act. uh, our perspective is slightly different. I think we have a deeper context, and that we have an important responsibility, Ganesh, to be the teachers, the guides, and enablers for this generation, and to shape, to make sure that collectively at the highest level as a human species, but then as at different levels you can break it down. How do we shape it? How do we succeed in that? And third is that look, I'm very, my my true passion is India, and I feel very strongly about that. That's been a very important aspect of my journey. That's why I chosen to be in India, and chosen never to move out of India. But sometimes, what you resist tends to persist, and then at a fairly late stage, I've ended up moving here to the US. But that contributing back to India in significant ways is a very important objective for me. I don't know exactly what shape it will take, but you asked a question about the future, um, and I think that's something I would like to do a lot more.
That's amazing, Nitin. I mean, listening to you, I was almost reminded about myself because you articulated all the passions that I have as well. Giving back to India, not really trying to settle outside India. I mean, as far as possible, and of course, the point you made about building multinationals with the solid Indian ethos, and I think that is something we'd all love to see going forward. So, thank you, Nitin Seth. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you as always, and look forward to more interactions personally and professionally. Thank you.
Same here, Ganesh. It was a pleasure. Thank you.